She sings Miss Independent. She's been married for 20 years.
And, you know,
Like, come on, guys.
the elite isn't perfect either.
Do you know what I
he
mean?
cheated on her, and
She knew.
when a woman cheats on a man, the number one question the man will ask her is, "Did you fuck him?"
Did you fuck him?
And she asks what?
Did you love her?
Exactly.
It's okay to be like, maybe marriage doesn't actually suit us anymore.
I mean, what is marriage?
It's supposed to be a commitment for life.
Well, there are actually numerous ways that you could describe it, because one of the things that I was learning the other day, marriage is also a legally binding contract.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I've got a great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we love to talk about all things dating, relationships, and seeing what we can do to attract the kind of person and relationship we want. So without further ado, please welcome back to the show, Shorty, Miss Shorty Devi. How are we?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, a pleasure to have you again. The first chat we had, went down a tree. It was what? Well, I thought it was 2 years ago. It was 3 years ago now, wasn't it?
It is 3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago. We're in a bit of a different setup now. You know, we've got a different mood. We've got some lighting for you. So, all right, let's get you back on, see what's cracking. So I always love to jump straight in. Okay. So first tell us your age or your age range, asking a lady her age. And one thing a guy should know about you if he was going to take you on a date.
So I am happily middle-aged. I'm 43, just turned 43.
Okay, come on,
and
check you.
I suppose if someone was interested in dating me, I have high standards. I don't do food dates ever. I feel like food is a real love language, and I only like to do that with people that I really care about if I can avoid it. Obviously, sometimes you're in a different setting. You got to eat with other people, but I don't do casual sex. I'm not looking for meaningless connections, and yeah.
Okay, interesting. So let's start on the food dates. Like, have you always been like that? As in, like, no food dates?
No, I think I grew into that the older I got, and I just, like I said, I really think that food is a privilege and a love language, and I like to do it with people that really mean something to me. And I also think that a food date at this point just doesn't really cut the mustard for me. Like, I have a really successful friend, and he said to me probably about 7-8 years ago, he goes, "I never go on dinner dates." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "You know what? I'm a really busy man. I have a full schedule. And if I take a woman out for a dinner, then she's going to put on her best outfit, maybe get her hair blown out and look great and be on her best behavior for 2 hours. I don't really get to know her, and it's a waste of my time. I don't have 3 months to do that." So he actually only dates for like a weekend, and he will take the date away for the weekend because he likes to see her in different settings, whether it's how she treats staff or whether, what she looks like in the morning and, how she travels and things like that. But he's a very successful man, so he has the luxury of doing that.
That's interesting. Doesn't that feel like a lot of pressure though as a woman? Like, imagine you meet this guy, you match with this guy online. He's like, "Hey, I'm interested in getting to know you. Let's go for a weekend away together." Is that not a level of pressure for you as a
one
woman?
of the things that they often ask him is, you want me to stay in the same room with you? And he's like, "No, absolutely not." Again, he's very successful and he has the means to give her her own room. So he's not saying this means we need to go and, be intimate right away. He's saying, "I'm interested in getting to know you, not just for a meal where you look your best. I'm interested in getting to know you and actually spending some time with you." Again, I think for a successful man, they choose their women very wisely. They're already vetting the women before they secure the date.
I hear that, though. Obviously, let's say they have their separate rooms and they're there for a few nights. She's still going to be putting her best foot forward. Like, him going on a dinner and her like, "Okay, you're going to be just putting your best foot for a couple of hours." If she's interested, she's going to be putting her best foot forward for the entire weekend. And especially if they're not staying in the same room. I mean, I'd be highly doubtful if she's going to show him how she looks completely, fresh in the morning without putting some level of effort in to see him.
I think the longer you have with the person, the more chance you have to see who they really are.
That's true.
And I mean, let's look at it the other way around as well. Like, if it was me, for example, I see at my age my authenticity, including all my messiness, part of the package. I'm not going to put. There might be times where my best foot is forward, but also if I'm with you for 3 days, you're probably also going to see me maybe in sticky situations. Like, what if we go for a hike and I don't know, like I get stuck in the mud? Like, how am I going to handle that? And then do you like what you see, or like, do I freak out like a like a spoiled bitch, or do I? Sorry, are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear. This is an adult podcast.
You know, or am I going to laugh about it? Is it going to be a chance for us to connect over something funny? So, I
hear that.
Again, maybe it's something that is not for everyone. I get it, but it made sense to me, and I think nowadays you have to find what makes sense to you.
I hear that. And look, each to their own. I think that is a big. It's commitment. It's not even to do with the financials, you know, because I mean, any guy can, you know, book a weekend away depending on what you're doing. But I think it's more like, for example, how do you know? Because if you get to, I don't know, let's say it's Saturday afternoon, and you just realize this person's really cool, but they're really not for me. But you've committed till Monday. Do you know what I mean? For the girl and the guy. Do you know what I mean?
I feel, again, you know, things change, people change, circumstances change, and we're all busy going through a lot in life. And just like I've said to you this afternoon already,
yes,
I don't want to waste anyone's time. So it's very like, it's like, if it's Saturday and I'm not feeling the date that's coming on Monday, I will be honest and I'll say, you know what, I'm having some reservations. It's nothing about you. Maybe you could reassure that person, but I don't want to waste my time. My time is very, very precious. I'm a mother of 2 children. I'm studying a university degree. I have a business. You know, I have all of these responsibilities. So I don't want to waste my time, but also I respect that person. If I ever thought, I'm going to go on a date with him, you're already, you know, quite high up in my, like on my scale.
If you met him like online, like you hadn't met with him before?
The men that I've met online who I have then met in person, I usually talk to them for about a year or 2 before.
A year? So wait, you match with a guy. Wait, hold on. So you match with a guy tomorrow. You're not going to date with him until like July 2026? Hell no.
Again, may I just say, this is just for me. Dating is not my priority. Finding a man at this moment in my life is not a priority. And I know that when I like someone, I like them right away. And if I don't really get that right away, like, you know.
Would you not say that if a guy has to talk to you for a year, like if we're talking, let's even take phone calls, right? Because I think it's, you know, it's nice that if you've matched with someone online and you're planning on potentially meeting them, having a phone call, even a FaceTime, which I've done before.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
But if you're talking for a year before you're willing to meet with them, you just don't like it.
This is just me. I'm busy. They're busy. And they can, you know, like, how busy can you be if you really, really want to meet them? Yeah, you would have met them, but it just didn't happen, you know? Right. So, and this is just, actually, no, I was going to say this is just one example, but it's really not. There are numerous, again, I'm single. I'm happily single. I'm not looking for a relationship. And I meet very nice men. I feel very fortunate that, you know, when I first became single after I left my marriage, I would say for a good year, the universe threw really subpar men at me. And I was like, what is going on here? And the more I learned about self-development, I thought, you know what, I'm still broken and maybe I was attracting all of the wrong things, because I believe that you attract what you are.
Sure, very true.
But then I think as I slowly started to heal, these men are nice men. You know, they don't all live in the UK as well. You know, like we can connect now with people all over the world.
With
so,
anyone.
You know, I have someone really nice in Australia and I have someone really nice in Miami, and I might have...
Bros in different area codes.
You know, Nate Dogg had a point, right? Like, but again, they're nice men. They're very respectful. They're single. I appreciate their time when they have it for me. And I hope it is, you know, the same and vice versa.
Yeah. Would you feel okay if, like, let's say a guy is talking to you, interested in you, but he's also doing that with other women in other places?
So I think we spoke about this briefly on our last chat.
Okay, remind me, because that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Go for it.
So I am poly in theory, not in practice, I would say. Right? Because there's not the right dynamics for me to practice. But I don't believe in monogamy. I think monogamy can be a beautiful thing in relationships. I also think that sometimes you can start a relationship monogamous and then 10, 15 years later you decide to open up your marriage.
Very true.
You know, and that it does work.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I've been really passionate about learning in the last couple years is the different relationship dynamics that we can have. So yes, there's monogamous, and yes, there is polyamorous, and then there's also, you know, polygamy where you can have multiple wives, and then there is casual sex and casual dating, and then there is, very unhealthy dynamics like controlling and domestic violence and things like that. There are so many different dynamics. You have to find the right one for you, and I would hope that you have enough self-awareness that you choose a healthy dynamic. But that seems very difficult these days as well.
Do you think maybe because people want different things at different stages in their lives? So some people want, maybe when they're younger, they want something a bit more chilled, casual. And then when they want to like settle down, they want something very monogamous. And then once they've done that, they're like, I can open it up and, explore having different connections, but you still have a primary partner that you go through life with. Do you know what I mean? So do you think people want different things at different points in their lives? Or?
I do, but I don't think it's about age. So I think there can be some 18-year-olds who really are having sex for the first time and they want to go and play the field, and they can do that. And then there's also another 18-year-old who thinks that it's very sacred, very special, and they want to save themselves for marriage.
Very true.
So again, it's all about what makes you happy. But then there's also there's a conversation to be had around autonomy versus connection, because nowadays, so I heard a statistic the other day that this is an American statistic, but in America, I think 50, 60 years ago, 1 out of 100 people were living alone. And now it's 1 in 7.
That makes sense.
So whereas it's great to have your home and your comforts, and it's great to have all of the privilege to be on your own and be entertained through social media or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's really dividing us. We're getting so comfortable in those little bubbles that we're not going out and looking for genuine connections. And then also online porn, social media, and dating apps have given, I want to say the youth, but maybe not exclusively to them. It's given the impression that everybody's replaceable. That you can just swipe to the next and you're going to find something special. And that's just not how it works. And actually, there's evidence now to show that about 15 years ago, when porn became so easily available, people started having more sex. So we were, going out there more and,
exploring,
getting our jiggy on or whatever.
Yeah.
But now those numbers are steadily decreasing. We're having less sex than ever.
Very true.
STDs are going up, but we're having less sex. And I think it's because people just don't really know how to genuinely connect, work through conflict. They don't know how to be adaptable. And nowadays, we look for everything in our partner. We want good sex. We want companionship. We want a friendship. We want them to be our support system. We want them to be the person that we vent to.
Yeah.
It was never like that in history. It was never, ever like that.
It was a village that would provide all those different needs. You wouldn't ask for all of that in one person.
Exactly. So again, I think relationships are changing so drastically, not just actually on a societal level, but actually it's also changing us biologically. So it's changing our brain chemistry. More people have impotency issues or infertility issues, and birth rates are dropping as well. Like when you think about dating and healthy dating,
people aren't coupling up. It's true.
It's having a profound effect on us as a species.
Yeah, I think so many things to delve in there for sure. So I actually think it's a different reason why we're having less sex. I don't think it's necessarily because people don't, because most people, especially nowadays, there's a lot more casual sex now. So you don't need to have a quote unquote connection, right? So long as there's physical chemistry. But I think the main reason is because you say about STIs going up. And I think it's that on average, people are having less sex. But I think there's a very small percentage of people who are having most of the sex. And there's a very large percentage of people who are having very little, if none. And I think that's really mainly reflective in men. There's a very small percentage of men who are having a lot of the sex, right? Yeah. And there's a very large percentage. So I don't know if we talked about this before, but you've ever heard of the Pareto principle? It's the 80-20 rule.
Oh, yes. The swiping, that there are not enough swipes for the men anyway, and it's a very small percentage of the men that get swiped for.
Yes, yeah. In terms of dating apps, for sure, it's like women swipe on average like 1 in 20, which is about 5%. Men swipe on 1 in 2 on average. But yeah, essentially it means that, the men that women find desirable, if we think of like the tick list: tall, attractive, successful, ambitious, confident, charismatic, intelligent, it's a very, very, very small percentage of men who tick all those boxes. Now, because of the internet and because of dating apps and social media, now everybody has access to everyone. So, you know, the girl from the quiet town of Norfolk, before, she'd just be limited to the men in her village, and she would
Yeah.
choose, you know, someone age appropriate, someone her age, etc. Right? But now she can match with the hotshot lawyer from London, the producer from LA, the basketball player from Paris. So now the men in her circles, in her immediate vicinity,
Yeah.
don't really compare to the access that she now has. And of course, you know, if you have no emotional investment, both of them ask you out in a day. You know, you've got the guy in your class who's 22, just accrued a bunch of student debt. The best he can do is take you to Nando's and he still lives at home. Or you've got the 30-year-old lawyer who's got his own place, drives a nice car, got his own dog, and he can provide a certain lifestyle and experience for you. If you have no emotional investment, they both ask you out on Friday night, who are you going to choose, right? But the caveat is he's doing that, or I should say, a lot of women are choosing that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a very small percentage of men who are engaging, dating, sleeping with a vast majority of the women, right? And then the truth is, unless he's ready to settle down, there's no incentive for him to be monogamous, to
Yeah.
commit to one woman. And then you have a large percentage of men who get almost nothing, right? And then they turn to video games, porn, OnlyFans, because that's the only level of sexual access they have. So on average, it's like on average, yes, we're having less sex on average per person, but it's actually, there's a small percentage of people having a lot of the sex, especially with men, compared to a huge chunk that just are not getting a lot of attention or access. In terms of birth rates, yeah, I mean, you know, there's less of an incentive for men. Men see less of an incentive to get married, you know, because of the way historically men or marriage has been in terms of nowadays, in terms of, okay, a lot of men feel like, what do I get in marriage that I can't have without it? You know, like, you know, you can still have a family, you can still have a life partner, you can still have a loving connection and a healthy relationship with someone. Still have children, of course, with them. But a lot of men just see it as a really big risk, especially if he's a successful man. You know, like, you know, do you want to risk losing your livelihood if things don't work out the way they want? So, and men are very logical with these things. So they're looking at marriage being like, they're looking at cost benefit analysis. They're like, it doesn't look like beneficial for me. But a lot of men still want families.
I feel like what you're saying is I think there are many, many layers as to why we're not connecting, why we're not having sex and all of that.
For sure.
And you make a valid point. It's very transactional, that, which I don't have a problem with at all.
Go on.
You know, I was learning something the other day, and it was saying, you know, they were talking about gold diggers, and it's like, yes, but you know, so this man has money and status and can provide something for this younger girl, but she has beauty and she has elegance, and he's looking for the beauty and the elegance, and she is looking for a lifestyle. And if both people are okay with that, then I think it's totally fine.
Sure.
But that isn't necessarily looking for genuine connection, romance, or compatibility with regards to your personality or things like that. But again, like I said, I'm not against it, you know?
No, and that's a valid point. And I think I'm not discounting the connection, the compatibility. I think men are saying like, oh, men are going, I like you and I love you. I just don't want marriage involved.
I think women are saying that too, though, to be fair. Have you heard of the, oh God,
Go on.
What is it called? Is it the something B movement?
Oh, the 4B movement.
The 4B movement,
Yes.
yeah. So it started in, I believe, South Korea.
Yeah.
The women were just like, men are not doing anything for us. They're not taking us out. They're not being frivolous. They're not providing for us. They're most certainly not giving us the safe space. They're not, you know, taking care of us. So we're just not going to date them, not going to have sex with them, not marry them, and not have children with them.
Yeah.
And this movement is now spreading.
I don't think it is, you know. I think it was a trend on social media because it sounds good, but then a lot of women are still engaged with men because most people, especially women, still want relationships and family. Like, I don't think if you ask
after
them,
a certain age, though, that just doesn't become the case. I think there are some women who choose their careers and through, I'd like to think awareness, they think like, you know what, I'm 35, it hasn't happened yet. I'm into my career. I'm just, I can't afford it as well. I don't want to do it on my own with IVF. So will choose to be single. Whether they choose that because they're of a certain age where they feel they can't have it anymore. Again, that is what I would say is a mindset shift that they need. But
Yeah.
what's interesting as well is there is some evidence and research to show that women like to date and be with someone either on their emotional intelligence and their IQ or above.
Yes, of course.
And men
And
like
economically.
to have someone either equal or below. So
So
that's another reason why we're struggling to connect, because we genuinely just want different things.
yeah, so you're absolutely right in terms of, the hypergamy, I guess what that's called. So in regards to like women, choosing their careers and choosing to like be single and childless, making that a choice for them. So apparently studies show that at least women in their 40s who are single and childless, 80% of them was unintentional. So only like a very small percentage, they're like, yeah, I didn't want a family, I didn't have children, just want to focus on work. But for the majority of women, at least what's being reported is that they actually did want a family and wanted children. But it didn't happen for them for whatever reason. But yeah, women are hypergamous by nature. So it's not just intelligence, but it's also...
why do you think that is?
What is?
Why do you think that hypergamous by nature? Is that how you say it? I never used the word hypergamous.
Yeah, the hypergamous, yes.
Yeah. Why do you think that is, though? Like fundamentally, historically, why do you think that is?
Because females have always looked to males for provision and protection. But the difference is what's changed is that because it's not only just in terms of intelligence, but it's also economic level. And actually, that's the biggest factor. Because as a woman, if you're, doing well for yourself, 9 times out of 10, you want a man at least on your level, economically, financially, or above. Obviously, we have equality now, as we should, right? And there's some women who are absolutely killing it, which is great for them. Actually, as of 2015, women under the age of 30 out-earn their male counterparts now, right? So women are doing great.
That's another interesting aspect, because I wonder what most of them do.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good question. I mean, like, I don't know how much of them are OnlyFans or adult stars, but who knows? I'm sure a lot of them have gone into like, a lot of corporate stuff. But as a woman, if you want a man on your level or above and you continue to climb, then the amount of men you see as eligible becomes smaller and smaller. Whereas men, we don't mind dating down, so to speak, someone who's not on our level. So the higher a man goes, actually, the more women become available to him in terms of eligibility.
Yeah.
And I think because
the opposite for women, unfortunately.
Right. But I guess, if you're a woman and you can be like, you know what, a man doesn't need to be on my economic level, then the pool becomes huge for you. But it's just about whether you can accept that. I think
it's very difficult sometimes for men to be okay with that. I think a man has to be very, very secure and confident within himself to say, that's the mighty breadwinner, and I'm going to be the stay-at-home guy.
So
I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Sure.
In my experience, it has not worked.
I'm not saying it's not a thing. I think it's bigger. I don't think there are many women out here looking for a stay-at-home husband. If you ask women, what kind of man do you actually want to be with long term?
We want to.
They are not saying a stay-at-home. They're not saying a stay-at-home husband. They're not saying that. They're definitely saying a guy who is strong leader, provider, confident, a man that they can rely on to be the foundation for them. I think certain dynamics, some men can feel insecure, for sure. I'm not saying that's not valid, but a lot of the time, and I say this because of women I've spoken to as well, they struggle to respect a man they feel that they're doing better than. And respect is hugely important for masculine love within a relationship.
Yes, so I would definitely agree. Men look for respect in their relationship, and women look for a safe space.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not saying that the woman doesn't look for, not saying that,
Of course, he doesn't want a safe space, and she doesn't want respect, of course.
But when we're talking about sort of the divine masculine or divine feminine and the fundamentals of that, sexual polarity, really,
Yeah.
Again, I just feel like not enough people know these things. And I feel like if we educated the younger generation and said to them, listen, there's a thing called love language. And then there are things that, your attachment style. And, there is something called sexual polarity. And actually, even as a man, you have feminine traits. And that is normal. It's the yin and the yang of life,
That's right.
So what I will say is that, so I'm I'm a master life coach, clinical hypnotherapist, and NLP practitioner, and predominantly, well, actually not predominantly, but a lot of the time I work with highly successful men who are stressed. And I believe very much that men just need more support these days. There is a problem worldwide of, whether it's black on black crime or, like a terrorist shooting or, whatever it is, the business of war, it's just men killing men, right? Whether you're high up there with the suits or whether you're on the ground, right? And then we also have a problem where men are killing women. So for example, if a woman is killed, I think the first person they look to is the partner. And it's 8 out of 10 times or 80% of the time it's the partner.
Just the partner. Yeah.
So, and also in the UK, a woman is killed every 3 days by a man. And then we also have a suicide rate that is 75% men. So I think there is a massive problem. And then apparently there's a male loneliness epidemic at the moment as well. Then all of those numbers really make sense, right? I just think men need more support. We need much more compassion in relationship dynamics. And again, this, autonomy versus connection. There are all these women going, I can do it on my own. Trust me, honey, you cannot. You might not need a man, but like you said before, there needs to be a village. The village was there 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, There were aunties, uncles, grandparents. There was your neighbor. There was, a school mom friend or something like that. You had a village. If you don't have a village, then life is very difficult. It's so different. And it's much easier to enjoy life when you have a village as well.
If you're loving this episode and these kinds of conversations, then I want to give you something. We recently launched the Kits Angels community. This is a sisterhood for women who are tired of what the dating scene has given them and are ready to take their love lives to the next level. It's a space for you as a woman to not be alone in your journey to love, where we learn, talk, and share our experiences as part of a strong sisterhood, with some leadership and guidance from yours truly, of course. Not to mention never before seen videos from me on how I've led dozens of women to meeting great men. And so as a thank you for watching this episode, I'm giving you a month's membership completely complimentary on me. Just click the Kits Angels link below, and when you join the group, message me the code phrase Angels Podcast and I will pay for your membership. Now back to the episode. Question on that, because you're right, a lot of women saying, I can do it myself, I'm independent, I don't need a man. Where does that rhetoric come from? Because I can't think of a healthy man, even if he's successful, who wants a family, he would ever say that I don't need a woman. So I'm just curious, where do you think that rhetoric, that narrative has come from in regards to women who say that?
I think it's not linear. One of the places that I would say is I think it's trickled in through our pop culture. So if you listen to, Jaguar Wright and some of those stories, apparently there was a time, I believe in the 90s, where hip hop became very, very political and none of us knew it at the time. But it was, the biggest hip hop artists were taken somewhere with all of the elite, and the elite, said, okay, well, you're going to listen, you're going to sing about gun crime, and you're going to sing about drugs, and you're going to sing about hoes, and you're going to rap about this, and you're going to promote these ideas. And how does it trickle into society? It trickles into glorifying all of that behavior. And part of that behavior also was then, I don't need a man. And, you're going to pay my bills. And I love a bit of Beyonce. But again,
she sings Miss Independent. She's been married for 20 years.
And then,
like, come on, guys.
The elite isn't perfect either. I mean, he cheated on her. And, I believe they were probably at them Diddy parties.
She knew. Like, him doing his thing, she knew. She knew.
And does she forgive it because of who he is? Does she forgive it because I think there's so many questions. Is it because of who he is? Is it because of the dynamic they create together that enables so much more financial gain? Is it because he's the father of her children?
Is it because they're married?
Is it because they're married and they're God-fearing people? Like, we'll never know. I'll have to
So it's
call
all
her later.
speculation. It's all speculation.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I think that's valid. Look, it doesn't condone it, but I think some women, because a lot of women who are with very successful men, they understand that it might happen and they turn a blind eye. And I think and it doesn't make it okay for guys to do that. If a man says, I'm going to be faithful to you, he should be a man of his word, right? And do his best to upkeep that for sure. But I think it's because they recognize that a man's investment isn't who he has sex with. It's who he provides for and who he would die for.
Yeah.
And I think women find this really difficult. I remember, who was it that said this? I just remember who said this. But there was a guy, very successful guy, attractive. He was on his podcast and he was talking about, about his experiences with women, his relationship. And he was like, look, I may sleep with this, I would die for my woman. I'd take a bullet for her, but I'll still fuck that girl. And I think for women, they find that very difficult to understand because but if you love her, you would die for her. Like you'd give your life, but you would still want to go sleep with another woman. And it's because a man's investment is very different to a woman's investment. And so I think
we're a different, total different kettle of fish.
Exactly. And the thing is, I would even say not all women, of course, not all women, but I would say for a lot of women, when they're with a man that they truly love and they care about, they don't want to sleep with other men.
This is true.
But for men, it's generally not the same. Some guys it is, but generally speaking, it's not.
So I learned recently that when a woman cheats on a man, the number one question the man will ask her is, did you fuck him?
Did you fuck him?
And she asks what?
Did you love her?
Exactly.
Right.
We are different. We are built different. But this idea that men can sleep around and should sleep around and women should not. I mean, I think that is designed by the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a world built by men for men. And I would, as a feminist...
Okay. Let's go, girl. Let's go.
As a feminist, I would say, well, the world you've built is not working for men. Like I said, men are killing men are killing women, and they're killing themselves. Like, it's not working. You need nature, like the nurturing part in your life. You need the safe space. You need all of the wonderful things in your life that only the woman who loves you can bring. Right?
I don't disagree with you. And I agree with you that I think that is what's needed for sure. And I think especially in the West, we've said these feminine qualities is weakness in women, unfortunately, and it's not. It's very powerful strength. But I'm going to push back and say that it's not. I don't think it's patriarchy why men have, what I should say is desirable men at the top of the food chain and hierarchy have had many women, and that women generally have not had many men in the same way. One, because of what we just said, as a woman, when you're with the man you want, you don't even want to sleep with anyone, a guy. Most women don't. Most women are not out here trying to sleep with multiple men when they have the man that they want.
Yeah.
I think the other thing as well, and this is part of the reason why in religious scripture, it is the husband that can have multiple wives, not the wife having multiple husbands. And I think because one, yes, men are more biologically predisposed to have casual sex in terms of spreading the seed in that sense, but also historically, men of means have always taken responsibility for multiple women, right? So in the Bible and even the Quran, it says it's not about, okay, you have one wife and you can go out there and do whatever you want with other women. It's no, you can have multiple wives, but you have to provide and protect for all of them.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility as a man. So I think and there's some women who can have sexual relations with multiple men and that works for them. And there's some men who are like, I only want one woman. That's enough for me in terms of sexually. But I think it is more natural, and we see this amongst, other primal males as well, and other mammals, right? It is more natural in the male to be able to sexually indulge with a variety of different females, right? And it's, they say in evolution biology, it's a tactic in a way that we've been evolved to try and get our genes into the next generation. And for females, it's generally more about, getting provision and protection. And so, because the deal between men and women in marriage, right? This whole thing of monogamy, it's a very new concept for men, at least. It's only in the recent several hundred years. Because
I'd argue less.
Probably even less.
I would argue less because, another thing I recently learned was, even just 50, 60 years ago, again, you married because, There's a farmer and he has a daughter. There's a farmer and he has a son. She got cows, he got land. That's a really good match. Or this princess needs a prince. Or, this like girl from a young village and this boy from a young village, they're going to be betrothed and then they will marry at 18 and then there's dowry or whatever. But it just doesn't work like that anymore. We've moved on so drastically. I feel like I've lost my trail of thought.
It'll come back to you.
There's so many things that I felt like I wanted to say. But one thing I will say is that I feel like men have just been given a license to cheat. Like, oh, you know what? We want to spread our seed and it's only natural for us. And I would venture, an argument, well, what might it have looked like if women had been given the opportunity?
Men would never accept it. Here's the major difference. Women may not like it, but some women, for the right man, they will accept it. That's the difference. Because here's the thing, there is nothing stopping women, how desirable she is, how hot, attractive, successful she is. There is nothing stopping her from going, the man who's interested in her, yeah, sure, I like you, I like spending time with you, we're together, but I may have physical experiences elsewhere. There's nothing stopping her from doing that, but the difference is most men who at least have a level of optionality would never accept that, but women accept it.
I think, again, there's so many interesting questions.
Sure.
And again, one thing I often say is, educate me, don't belittle me. So not saying that you're doing that, but in general, like, if you don't understand something and if you don't believe something and it doesn't sound quite right, then research it, like what could be the alternative or where does this ideology come from? And I think that, well, I know for a fact, men, they can just sleep with someone that they're attracted to and it can be very quick, and like you said, they don't need to love them, they're not important to them or anything else. When women cheat, it's much more emotional.
Very true.
And then the men, they just can't handle that. If a woman cheats on a man and there's been an emotional connection, this man will feel completely violated and he probably won't get over it. It's why men don't forgive women who cheat usually. But if it's the other way, sorry, say that again.
I think it's the physical side. So I think if a woman says there's someone else, that's why he asks, did you fuck him? Yes, it sucks to hear that there's another man you might have feelings for, but did you fuck him? That's the borderline.
Yeah.
That's why I think for women it's terrible that you had sex with another woman, but do you love her?
Yeah.
Could she replace me emotionally in your life?
Yeah.
And so I think for guys, that's why the physical side is why they have really low tolerance. I think it's much easier for him to forgive her if they've not slept together, even if she has feelings.
When I said that he doesn't forgive her, I meant that when a woman has been sexually unfaithful, very rarely does the man forgive her and move on. And then it also begs the question, what kind of man accepts that behavior, but again, for very different reasons than a woman would accept that behavior, right? And then also you need to think about, are there children involved? Is there family involved? Is there a community involved? So for example, I know a very attractive man who is married and he's not happy. There is absolutely no way he's going to leave his wife. There's no way, it would bring shame on him, on his family. The whole community would look down on him. She's then left a spinster. We won't say what religion or background, but there are many religions and backgrounds and communities that would do this to their own people. It doesn't matter if you're happy. What do you mean? We planned this wedding for 2 years. We spent £200,000 on the wedding. You're gonna marry her. You're gonna stay with her. And if you don't have kids, we'll say that it was her fault. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's not okay. But yeah.
But it's just, the village is wonderful, but the village has to work for you. So I also encourage people, to step out of their village and say, are there other places where you feel better? You feel more supportive? You feel that it's a safer space for you, and like I said, all of your messiness, it's not easy being authentic, especially if you don't fit into a box. But I would like to think that the older you get, the less you give a shit.
For sure. I guess this I'd love to get your take on this. I guess my question is, because I don't think marriage is about happiness. I do think it's about duty. But then it's okay to be like, maybe marriage doesn't actually suit us anymore.
I mean, what is marriage?
It's supposed to be a commitment for life.
Well, there are actually numerous ways that you could describe it, because one of the things that I was learning the other day, marriage is also a legally binding contract. So there are legalities to marriage. Then there's also, emotional and physical aspects of marriage. You want physical safety, you want emotional stability,
Mm-hmm.
You want financial contributions. I actually often say that about parenting. You need to provide a child with emotional stability, physical safety, and financial contributions. And I also think that there are many parents that give their absolute best to raising their children. And then there are people who give their absolute best to their business, to their craft. Why are we not doing that in relationships? I don't understand that. Like, you would never have,
I agree,
like, a toxic relation. I don't really like the word toxic, but you would never stay in an unhealthy relationship dynamic if it wasn't working. Why would,
I think I have a theory, because actually with somebody today I had this conversation. People will make sure they're on their best behavior and bring their best to their work, but they don't do that for their relationship consistently.
And that's just so sad. Where's the effort? Where's the romance?
Yeah.
Where is the specialness? Like, my nephew is 21, and I was hanging out with him a few weeks ago, and him and his friends said something about girls, and then they said, yeah, but they all cheat or something. And then my nephew was like, yeah, but nobody really is in relationships anymore. Like, nobody is in.
Yeah.
But it's like, I also think, like, social media, and maybe slowly from the time where we had the Vine, which is, I think, 6
Vine.
seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like our attention span has just gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. And on one hand, yeah, you should have zero tolerance to bullshit. But unfortunately, relationships are messy.
Yes.
And all relationships will have conflict and some bullshit. So how do you deal with that bullshit? And where are the people that are like, you know what, this is really hard, but I'm going to stick it out because this person really seems worth it. I'm not going to get on, a Tinder app or whatever, because I've had one argument and she's pissed me off. Let me just quickly find another girl that is so easily replaceable. Like, I think if you want genuine connection, deeper connection, more meaningful relationships, you're going to find someone who is brave enough to, get to the stormy waters with you and get through them.
I completely agree. This is my thinking on this now that it's evolved to this point, and it may continue to evolve. I may think something different. But I'm beginning to believe that the only way that a relationship can really last the test of time is if there is meaning behind the relationship that is bigger than serving the happiness of the two people. Because there are going to be times, if you're going to be a long-term relationship, there are going to be times where you may love each other, but you don't like each other.
100%.
There are going to be times where you may actually be unhappy within the relationship.
For years and sometimes decades.
It might be the case. But if the relationship serves a higher purpose than just the happiness of the both of you, and you both have a commitment to that higher purpose, then you will make it work. You can find a way to make it work. And that's not me saying that anybody who, if you get into a relationship or marriage, then, you should be forced to stay with that person forever. But I think part of the reason why our grandparents' generation, why it did last the test of time, and a lot of them still had very happy marriages, is because they learned how to stay with each other.
I don't think a lot of women had a choice. I mean, I don't think people had a choice anyway, but I want to say women even more. We didn't have an opportunity to leave.
Sure, I agree. I also think that it was very frowned upon to get a divorce, right? So there was a massive social deterrent from breaking up and getting divorced, for sure, right? Sure, women didn't have an opportunity to even fend for themselves. But I think maybe this is a reality of human beings. I'm not saying that we should do this, but I'm just asking the question, just from my observations, that maybe that because we can be so loyal to how we feel and what makes us happy, it can mean that we actually don't commit to doing the work that needs to be done unless we're kind of, I don't want to say forced to, but unless there is very, very high incentive to not do that. So like,
well, again, where's the village supporting you in your relationship? I think people had that back in the day. Oh, you're
True. I
having
think
trouble. You're
that's a
having some
factor
trouble
for
in your
sure.
marriage. Okay, let's lift you up. Is there anything that we can do? We don't have that nowadays. We have these couples on Instagram saying, "Oh, look, everything is so fucking perfect," and behind doors they hate each other.
Yep.
You
Very
know,
true.
like again, this illusion that everything is okay when it's just not the reality of it. We're not okay. Like on a bigger, the chances
Life
are
comes
that
in
you're not
waves.
okay.
It comes in waves for sure. The example I would give is like, it's like people working, right? The reason most people work isn't because they really want to be a productive member of society. The reason most people work is because they're avoiding the consequence of not being able to afford to live. They're avoiding the consequence of not living on the street. They're avoiding the consequence of not being able to, have a level of comfort and have food on their, food on the table,
Is
water
it
on
heat
their
or
head.
eat, right?
Right, exactly. Because if we said to people, okay, you know what, guys, living is paid for. What percentage of the population would still choose to be a productive member of society? I think it would be less than a quarter, genuinely less than a quarter. And I think that really speaks to, and this is what I mean in regards to the relationship needs to serve a higher meaning than the happiness of the individuals, is because it is way better as a whole that we are all productive members of society. Me being a productive member of society serves you. You being productive serves him. It all serve each other, right? And even though there are times where we don't really want to go to work, there are times, right? A lot of people don't
That
like their
rat
job.
race be real these
It might be
days,
real,
bro.
right? Here's the thing. It's even like if you quit your job, you need to find another way of being a productive member of society. Otherwise, these consequences are going to come upon you. And so this is why I'm saying that part of the reason why people made it work back in the day is because they were avoiding the consequences of it not working out. Because the consequences of it not working out was way worse.
So why are we not scared of it now? Why are we not worried about the consequences?
But because we've
Because
not
we're so
only
selfish now, and we don't really care about the greater society or the village. No,
I think generally people this generation were more narcissistic. I think people think if I'm not happy, that means I should go.
my friend, who is a wonderful artist, she says narcissism is a spectrum, and you're on it, which
Sure.
I think
True.
is really good. I just wish that people were brave enough to have the messy relationships because, if you want, I think it's Esther Perel who says this.
Love Esther.
We love her and I
She's
quote her all the
amazing.
time. But, are you looking for a love story or a life story? Because you can be absolutely in love with someone and marry them and have the most wonderful relationship for a really, really long time. But people change and you're supposed to change. It's never a good excuse to say, oh, you've changed. Or like, you didn't used to be like that. Good. I'm glad that I'm evolving and growing and please join me on this journey, right? It's when people disconnect because one is moving in one direction and one is moving in a completely opposite direction that then things break up. But
do you think lifelong monogamy is an unrealistic ask today?
I don't think it's unrealistic, especially if you're coming from like religious and very traditional backgrounds where it means so much to you, where it's not an option to divorce, it's not an option to be rude, dismissive. It's not an option to cheat or to put your hands on each other, to be disrespectful, because some of these communities, yes, will enforce it on you, and that's terrible. But other communities, the village is loving. It's a loving place.
Very
and
true.
You still have those people, the men that want to be the providers and protectors, and the women who want to stay at home and be nurturing and mothering and loving and provide that safe space for the stressed man to come home.
Yes.
There are still people who value that. But I think, again, we're changing to a place now where I think as long as you're honest, your relationship has a much higher chance of surviving in a good way. It's not nice hearing that someone cheated. But it's not nice, for example, hearing that your partner cheated. But if you can have a really open, honest conversation and get all your feelings out on the table and listen to listen and embrace and accept how much you've hurt the other person, then maybe there is a chance for you. But people don't do that. Shit, I cheated. Let me just, make sure that, the trail is not, she can never find out, and, I'm going to do everything. But then never ever disregard a woman's intuition. She knows.
Sure, and I think probably more women know even without evidence, because that intuition is a
Men
thing.
are bad liars at times as well. Like, you're not great liars. You're
Sure,
an
women pick
actor,
up on
so
the
maybe you're a
cues.
little
It's
bit
true.
different.
Listen, actors, we can't be trusted. We cannot be trusted. It's funny though. I even think Esther Perel said this though. So, for example, let's say you have a couple. They're from a very religious background. They're married, so divorcing is not an option. Let's say where the husband has cheated and it's playing on him, his guilt, all of that. And she even says this, that when it gets to a point, because if he knows you're not going to get divorced, she can't leave you for whatever reason, because community where she can't leave you. You telling her that she's cheated, all you're doing is alleviating the guilt, that burden, now onto her. And so in that situation, it may be best for him to not say anything and for him to bear the burden, not to put it on her.
I don't disagree at all.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Especially if you can't.
I do.
If you can't leave.
there was, when I was married.
Doesn't make it okay, by the way, but you know what I mean.
It's the dishonesty that is not okay. It really.
Him cheating is wrong, but I guess should he
for
be honest?
For his religious backgrounds, yeah.
Should he be honest and tell her though?
Again,
if she can't
really
leave?
each to their own. It's each to their own.
Yeah, it's true.
When I was married, my husband was, had a very successful client and was traveling all over the world. And I think we had a conversation where I said, if you're across the world at a fabulous party in the Hollywood Hills and Kendall Jenner walks in with all her lovely model mates, and you're having a good time, and you struck up a conversation with someone and there seems to be a genuine connection, and like I said, you're looking at the stars, you're in some beautiful mansion, you're halfway across the world, and don't not have a beautiful experience because you're worried it might hurt me. Just do your thing. This is for me.
Hey, listen, Shorty, they don't make them like you anymore, girl. They do not make them like you anymore.
I want to say, this is how I felt in my marriage. It's not for anyone else. And I know that there are people who definitely wouldn't understand it.
Sure.
But I said to him, I'm at home. I'm safe. I'm with the children. Everything's good. And you go and you live your best life. And don't ever, ever let me find out about it. Because if I find out about it,
you're screwed.
I'm going to be so annoyed with you. What is wrong with you? But I don't think it would have been the same the other way around.
Probably not. No.
We never got to that conversation. And to be honest, that was never something that I wanted, because as long as there was the safe space, it doesn't take anything away from me. He married me. I'm his wife and I'm the mother of his children, and I'm the safe space, and I'm the person he comes to with, his raw authenticity or whatever, and look, at the end of the day, it obviously didn't work out because I'm divorced.
Well, do you know what I was going to say? I was going to say, look, if that was the mindset you had and, you guys didn't work out, he fumbled, because I think, genuinely, I think...
People fumble.
Yeah, I think he fumbled in letting you go. If that was, if you had that mindset and stuff, then...
I ran.
He definitely... Well, fair enough, he should have been delivering if he was given that.
I have nothing but the utmost respect for this man. I still... There are people out there who absolutely hate their husband or the father of their children, and I feel very, very grateful to say that he's not great, but he's not a terrible person. I look at him, he has intelligence and he has very good parts about him. I think if we said that there are parts to people, if we're like a puzzle, there are some parts that you might not really like, but there are other parts that you really, really love and they make sense for you.
Yeah, you chose him for a reason.
I did. I chose him for a reason. And I do believe that he was my soulmate. I believe that we get many opportunities to have soulmates. They don't only come in romantic relationships. They come in the form of parents or friends or, cousins or whatever. I believe my children are my soulmates, we're like 7 billion people on the planet. And these are the people that I get to hang out with. Make sure that they're good people.
Yeah. I hear that. Listen, we could chat for another hour. We have to wrap it there, but we'll definitely get you back on soon for sure. We won't leave it for 3 years. Thank you for sharing your energy and
Thank
your
you
wisdom.
so
We
much,
appreciate
kid. You're the
you.
best.
If people want to find you and follow you, where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram at the Y Practice. That's my business.
Cool.
The Y is the letter Y. Otherwise, you can look for Active NLP, which is my movement therapy page.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm around.
Awesome. She's around. But thank you for coming on. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Guys, go give Shorty a like, give her a follow, all that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode.